Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called The Story of Peace. There once lived a very wealthy man who was willing to pay a small fortune to the artist who could best illustrate the presence of peace. Several artists brought paintings of sunsets and quiet meadows, but the man did not accept any of these. One day he was walking through looking at the most recent attempts. Two paintings captured his attention. One was a painting of a beautiful calm lake surrounded by lush green mountains. The water seemed as still as glass, and wispy white clouds danced in the bright blue of the sky. Next to the painting was another with vast differences. It was also a picture of a lake surrounded by mountains, but the strong winds had whipped the lake into a tempest, and the dark clouds hovered over the rugged mountain landscape, ready to release a downpour of torrential rains. The audience standing about watched with anticipation to see which one the man might choose to depict the story of peace. All were shocked when he did not choose the first, but instead chose the second. How could such a stormy scene tell a story of peace? The rich man explained. The first painting was beautiful and peaceful, but it didn't tell the truth of where peace can be found. Anyone could feel peaceful upon a crystal clear lake with white clouds drifting across the sky and barely a breeze blowing across the water. Then he pointed out something in the second painting which everyone else had overlooked. If you peered closely at the mountains of the second, there was a waterfall, and tucked into a crevice of that mountain near the waterfall was a small nest which a mother bird sat upon tiny blue eggs. The man spoke. This second painting is a picture of true, perfect peace because it is within the storm of life that we find real peace tucked into the side of God, knowing His presence will guard and protect us even in the midst of this world's storm. Hope you enjoyed today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called Everyone is Important to God. During my second month of nursing school, our professor gave us a pop quiz. I was a conscientious student and had breezed through the questions until I read the last one. What is the first name of the woman who cleans the school? Surely this was some kind of a joke. I had seen the cleaning woman several times. She was tall, dark-haired, and in her 50s. But how would I know her name? I handed in my paper, leaving the last question blank. Just before class ended, one student asked if the last question would count toward our quiz grade. Absolutely, said the professor. In your careers, you will meet many people. All are significant. They deserve your attention and care, even if all you do is smile and say hello. I've never forgotten that lesson. I also learned her name was Dorothy. I hope you like today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called Small Prayer Answered. One evening in September, I took my 13-year-old son to see a St. Louis Cardinals baseball game. I was given 2 free tickets for bleacher seats from my work. What a blessing. So I picked up my son at home and hurried back to the ballpark. We were going early to watch batting practice. I told Nathaniel that from the bleachers we might be able to get a souvenir baseball hit to us. Well, there were a lot of balls falling around us, but that's just it, around us. Some on the left, some on the right, some in front of us, but nothing could reach us. And then it happened. A batted ball landed at my feet. It did a double ricochet between the ground and the seat and blasted out from under there about 8 feet high right into the boy's glove. Unfortunately for me, the boy wasn't Nathaniel. The ball had bounced about 10 rows in front of us. At the very moment the ball hit, I was distracted and looking to my right. I didn't even see it. Well, that's it, I thought. You don't get another chance like that at the game. So I settled in with just about 10 minutes left of batting practice, content with the game we were about to see. But there was another home run ball hit in the section to the right of us, some 25 feet away. An elderly attendant got the ball when it landed and signaled, pointing with his finger, that he wanted Nathaniel to have the baseball. I was delighted and perplexed. We hadn't even been talking to this man. He wasn't an attendant for our section, and there were about 10 kids, all excited, hopping up and down, hoping for the ball. Nathaniel wasn't even close enough to be within the other kids. He was another 6 feet in back of them. But the attendant picked Nathaniel. I thought to myself, what luck. We have our souvenir. It wasn't until the middle of the third inning that the significance of what I had just witnessed hit me. It was then that Nathaniel leaned over to me and said, "You know, Dad, I prayed before we got here that I would be able to get a baseball." Whir, bang, my head must have made a noise. All at once, my brain suddenly comprehended what my eyes had seen. What I had dismissed as a bit of good luck surely had been a divine design. This event has reinforced me that God hears our smallest of prayers. Maybe even that's wrong. Maybe there's not even such a thing as a small prayer to God. And no request seems too trivial when I ask in sincerity with the heart of a child. Nathaniel has the proof. It weighs 5 ounces and has a leather cover sewn with double stitch 10/5 red thread. I hope you liked today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called "They Know Not What They Do." I came up with an idea that whenever you have a bad thought, you should imagine Jesus entering into the scene you're imagining. I tried it, but I was shocked by what my mind seemed to produce automatically. Jesus entered the scene in my mind, but he wasn't just hanging out. He was hanging on the cross, and he spoke. He said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." I've never heard a preacher say this, but this seemingly automatic way that Christ entered my mind made me think that maybe he wasn't just talking about those who were executing him, as much as he said that he was talking about every person who's ever sinned or ever will sin in thought or in action. That is what really killed him, after all. I hope you like today's short story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Many years ago, a wealthy man went duck hunting with a hired hand named Sam. They took a horse and carriage, and along the way, a rim came off one of the wheels. As Sam hammered it back on, he accidentally hit his finger. Instantly, he let go with some bad words. He quickly fell to his knees, asking God's forgiveness. Lord, it's difficult at times to live the Christian life, he prayed. Sam, said the man, I know you're a Christian, but tell me why you struggle so. I'm an atheist and I don't have problems like that. Sam didn't know what to say. Just then 2 ducks flew overhead. The man raised his gun and 2 shots rang out. Leave the dead one and go after that wounded bird, he shouted. Sam pointed at the duck that was fluttering desperately to escape and said, I've got an answer for you now, boss. You said my Christianity isn't any good because I have to struggle so. Well, I'm the wounded duck and struggle to get away from the devil. But you, boss, you're the dead duck. I hope you like today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called, I Don't Want to Change. But I don't want to change, Deborah repeated for what must have been the 15th time that afternoon. For years, Deborah had lived the life of a pauper. The open sky had been her shelter, the generosity of passerbys her income. Now her father stood before her, offering her what he had offered her every day of her life, to give her a new life with him. But Deborah, why would you insist on changing your proper ways when I offer you a way of escape? Deborah could hear the pain in her father's voice. Nevertheless, she stubbornly shook her head and replied, I don't want to change. She repeated again, I like the way things are. But just last week, you complained about how you went to bed hungry. And don't you remember how miserable life can be in the rain? Deborah paused as she contemplated these points. It was true. Life could get very miserable out on the streets. But give up the life she had always known? Oh no, that she could never do. She would much rather go on complaining even while ignoring the solution to her complaints. I can't change, Father, Deborah argued. I'm too set in my ways. It's just a hopeless case. I tried a few months back to give up this life, remember? And the very first day I was back on the street. I just can't help it. Oh, but you could. I would help you. You could come live with me. I would give you other things to do besides aimlessly roaming the streets in this fashion. We could have so much fun together. Oh, do come. Deborah's father reached out his hand as if to invite her to join him in happiness. Deborah shook her head. I just can't change, she repeated. You can't or you won't. The question was made in a voice barely above a whisper. Deborah made no reply. She simply turned and walked down the street to continue her self-imposed miserable life. Deborah's father forced back the tears as he watched his daughter leave. He slowly turned and walked away. He would come back again tomorrow. Maybe then his daughter would be ready to accept his gift of love. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. John 3:16. I hope you like today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called Anne Margaret. Richard, my husband, never really talked a lot about his time in Vietnam, other than he had been shot by a sniper. However, He had a rather grainy 8 by 10 black and white photo he had taken at a USO show of Anne Margaret with Bob Hope in the background. That was one of his treasures. A few years ago, Anne Margaret was doing a book signing at a local bookstore. Richard wanted to see if he could get her to sign the treasured photo, so he arrived at the bookstore at 12 o'clock for the 7:30 signing. When I got there after work, the line went all the way around the bookstore, circled the parking lot, and disappeared behind a parking garage. Before her appearance, bookstore employees announced that she would sign only her book and no memorabilia would be permitted. Richard was disappointed, but wanted to show her the photo and let her know how much those shows meant to the lonely GIs so far from home. Anne Margaret came out looking as beautiful as ever, and as second in line, it was soon Richard's turn. He presented the book for her signature and then took out the photo. When he did, there were many shouts from the employees that she would not sign it. Richard said, "I understand. I just wanted her to see it." She took one look at the photo. Tears welled up in her eyes and she said, "This is one of my gentlemen from Vietnam, and I most certainly will sign this photo. I know that what those men did for the country, and I always want time for my gentlemen." With that, she pulled Richard across the table and planted a big kiss on him. She then made a quite to-do about the bravery of the young men she met over the years, how much she admired them and how much she appreciated them. There weren't too many dry eyes among those close enough to hear. She then posed for the pictures and acted as if he were the only one there. Later at dinner, Richard was very quiet. When I asked if he'd like to talk about it, my big, strong husband broke down in tears. "That's the first time anyone ever thanked me for my time in the Army," he said. That night was a turning point for him. He walked a little straighter and for the first time in years was proud to be a vet. I'll never forget Anne Margaret for her graciousness and how much that small act of kindness meant to my husband. Hope you liked today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called A Correct Assumption. A man was being tailgated by a stressed out woman on a busy boulevard. Suddenly the light turned yellow just in front of him. He did the right thing, stopping at the crosswalk, even though he could have beaten the red light by accelerating through the intersection. The tailgating woman was furious and honked her horn, screaming in frustration as she missed her chance to get through the intersection, dropping her cell phone and makeup. As she was still in mid-rant, she heard a tap on the window and looked up in the face of a very serious police officer. The officer ordered her to exit her car with her hands up. He took her to the police station where she was searched, fingerprinted, photographed, and placed in a holding cell. After a couple of hours, a policeman approached the cell and opened the door. She was escorted back to the booking desk where the arresting officer was waiting with her personal effects. He said, "I'm very sorry for this mistake. You see, I pulled up behind your car while you were blowing your horn and cussing a blue streak at him. I noticed the 'What Would Jesus Do' bumper sticker and the Choose Life license plate holder, the 'Follow Me to Sunday School' bumper sticker, and the chrome-plated Christian fish emblem on the trunk. Naturally, I assumed you had stolen the car." I hope you liked today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called Pinewood Derby. My son Gilbert was 8 years old and had been in Cub Scouts only a short time. During one of the meetings, he was handed a sheet of paper, a block of wood, and 4 tires and told to return home and give it to Dad. That was not an easy task for Gilbert to do. Dad was not receptive to doing things with his son, but Gilbert tried. Dad read the paper and scoffed at the idea of making the Pinewood Derby car with his young, eager son. The block of wood remained untouched as the weeks passed. Finally, Mom stepped in to see if I could figure it all out. The project began. Having no carpentry skills, I decided it would be best if I simply read the directions and let Gilbert do the work. And he did. I read aloud the measurements, the rules of what we could do and what we couldn't do. Within days, his block of wood was turning into a Pinewood Derby car. A little lopsided, but looking great, at least to the eyes of Mom. Gilbert had not seen any of the other kids' cars and was feeling pretty proud of his Blue Lightning. The pride that comes with knowing you did something on your own. Then the big night came. With his blue Pinewood Derby in his hand and pride in his heart, he headed to the big race. Once there, my little one's pride turned into humility. Gilbert's car was obviously the only car made entirely on his own. All the other cars were a father-son partnership with cool paint jobs and sleek body styles made for speed. A few of the boys giggled as they looked at Gilbert's lopsided, wobbly, unattractive vehicle. To add to the humility, Gilbert was the only boy without a man at his side. A couple of boys who were from single parents' homes at least had an uncle or grandfather by their side. Gilbert had Mom. As the race began, it was done in elimination fashion. You kept racing as long as you were the winner. One by one, the cars raced down the finely sanded ramp. Finally, it was between Gilbert and the sleekest, fastest looking car there. As the last race was about to begin, my wide-eyed, shy 8-year-old asked if they could stop the race for a minute because he wanted to pray. The race stopped. Gilbert hit his knees, clutching this funny-looking block of wood between his hands. With a wrinkled front brow, he sat to converse with the Father. He prayed in earnest for a very long minute and a half. Then he stood, smile on his face, and announced, "Okay, I'm ready." As the crowd cheered, a boy named Tommy stood with his father as their car sped down the ramp. Gilbert stood with his father within his heart and watched his block of wood wobble down the ramp with surprisingly great speed and rushed over to the finish line a fraction of a second before Tommy's car. Gilbert leaped into the air with a loud "thank you" as the crowd roared in approval. The scoutmaster came up to Gilbert with a microphone in hand and asked the obvious question, "So you prayed to win, huh, Gilbert?" To which my young son answered, "Oh no, sir. That wouldn't be fair to ask God to help you beat somebody else. I just ask him to make it so I don't cry when I lose." Children seem to have a wisdom far beyond us. Gilbert didn't ask God to win the race. He didn't ask God to fix the outcome. Gilbert asked God to give him strength in the outcome. When Gilbert first saw the other cars, he didn't cry out to God, "No fair, they had a father's help." No, he went to his Father for strength. Perhaps we spend too much of our prayer time asking God to rig the race, to make us number one, or too much time asking God to remove us from the struggle when we should be seeking God's strength to get through the struggle. I can do everything through him who gives me strength. Philippians 4:13. Gilbert's simple prayer spoke volumes to those present that night. He never doubted that God would indeed answer his request. He didn't pray to win, thus hurt someone else. He prayed that God would supply the grace to lose with dignity. Gilbert, by his stopping the race to speak to his father, also showed the crowd that he wasn't there without a dad, but his father was most definitely there with him. Yes, Gilbert walked away a winner that night with his father at his side. I hope you like today's story. Have a great day and God bless. Good morning, this is Larry with another modern day parable. Today's parable is called Ice Cream. Last week I took my children to a restaurant. My 6-year-old son asked if he could say grace. As we bowed our heads, he said, God is good. God is great. Thank you for the food. And I would even thank you more if Mom gets us ice cream for desserts. And liberty and justice for all. Amen. Along with the laughter from the other customers nearby, I heard a woman remark, that's what's wrong with this country. Kids today don't know how to pray. Asking God for ice cream. Why, I never. Hearing this, my son burst into tears and asked me, did I do it wrong? Is God mad at me? As I held him and assured him that he had done a terrific job and God was certainly not mad at him, an elderly gentleman approached the table. He winked at my son and said, I happen to know that God thought that was a great prayer. Really? My son asked. Cross my heart. Then in the theatrical whisper, he added, indicating that the woman whose remark had started this whole thing, too bad she never asked God for ice cream. A little ice cream is good for the soul sometimes. Naturally, I bought my kids ice cream at the end of the meal. My son stared at his for a moment and did something I will remember the rest of my life. He picked up his sundae and, without a word, walked over and placed it in front of the woman. With a big smile, he told her, here, this is for you. Ice cream is good for the soul sometimes. I hope you like today's story. Have a great day and God bless.